ride, I push the... I do the dash, I won't wait to the bag, boy, you know I push the gas.
Manta at SeaWorld Orlando is a flying roller coaster made by B&M, and quite possibly is the most intense ride I was able to experience while I was at SeaWorld. And I was able to ride everything except Icebreaker, which I still don't see being more intense than this ride. Now, I'm not saying it's the most intense ride in Florida, however, it does still pull some good forces, especially on this Pretzel Loop, which is quite possibly one of the most intense roller coaster elements I have ever experienced. B&M is known for doing this well, and I can see why. I have ridden 2 B&M flyers, Manta obviously being my favorite of the 2, and that Pretzel Loop on both rides is insane. The feeling of diving headfirst into that valley and back up is incredible, and your back is pinned to the train the entire time. And if you couldn't tell, the Pretzel Loop is my favorite part of the ride. I rode Manta twice, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and both rides were equally intense, I believe. Manta also has some pretty good near misses, especially towards the end of the ride. Also, the second half of the ride after the mid-course is good because A, it has some intense moments, B, it has some good near misses, but also, it's pretty much the first thing you see when you enter SeaWorld. And the thing with Manta, as well as SeaWorld's other roller coasters, is that their placement is really good. You can see most of them throughout the entire park, and they are blended perfectly into the landscape. It's honestly really cool. When you go over the bridge in the middle of the park over the lake, you can see all their coasters in every direction, and it's amazing. And that swooping turn where the water sprays up at you is probably one of the most photographed elements on any coaster of all time. But now let's get back to talking about the actual ride, because of course the Pretzel Loop is not the only good element on the ride. Again, as I mentioned before, it is still my favorite, but it's not the only good element on the ride, of course, as this ride is intense the entire time. So after you exit the Pretzel Loop, you take a left turn into this roll, which whips you around fairly well before you go into a fairly intense downward helix. That is followed by another roll, which will pin you to the side of the train before you go up and pop into the mid-course brake run. Now, this whole section after the mid-course is the well-known part of the ride. Now is when you have that turn over the lake, which sprays up at you with water jets, before you go into a right turn, which has a near miss with the entrance sign, and then a roll, which will again throw you to the side of the train, before you go to a left turn, up, and then into the brakes. And that is Manta, my second favorite roller coaster at SeaWorld Orlando, and definitely top 10 I've ridden in total. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you have ridden Manta before, I want to know what you think of it. Leave a comment, tell me about your ride experience, and make sure to tell me where it ranks in your SeaWorld Orlando rankings. And that is it for today's video. I will be back next week with a review of the floorless coaster Kraken. So again, if you would like to see that, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications.